Hey guys, welcome back to City Skylines. Today I'm going to examine my own mistakes. One of those mistakes was, quite frankly, putting all my commercial and all my residential stuff together, because looking at real life cities, and I don't really want to give any examples of terrible cities, but Rotterdam, you shouldn't really keep them separate like that, because I still have this problem where I still have a demand for commercial zones, and all of my commercial zones are jobless and don't have any customers because the commercial zones are so far away from all the residential zones and it's not really working very well. So that is one issue I have. One mistake that I also made in the future. Holy shit, that is a terrible paradox. In the past is using OBS to record, because I gave it a shot, and I'm never going to do that again. It was not that bad. I mean, the resolution was okay, and it was laggy, but then again, this is a time-lapse. But the resolution was nowhere as good as with Fraps, of course, because Fraps Master Race. So I'm going to use that from now on. And this road, by the way, it might look very stupid, but I had this idea that I might be able to actually use two-lane roads that have one direction, and combine them to make one 4-lane road that doesn't create as much noise pollution, but also doesn't create any traffic lights. But then the issue that soon arose was, how do you get from one side of the road to the other? So I decided to add intersections every here and then, and that didn't work at all. It only created stupidness. And the biggest issue with this road is, it was so perfect in my head, and then I opened this road and it turns out that all of the users of cars in this game are so incredibly stupid that they don't even know how those things work. At least that's what I thought, but then I realized that having two roads that only go in one direction does mean that people are gonna have to drive all the way to the end of the road to find the nearest intersection that is actually further away from the road they actually want to be from, so that then after that they can drive back and get into the house area, if you understand what I mean. Basically, it meant that cars had to drive all over this road and go till the end of the world and back just to get to their house at the beginning of the road. And that was a huge issue. So at some point, I did fix that issue with this road. And I must say that even though it's not that efficient in terms of how far people have to drive, I don't give a shit, because so far it's really good at not piling up cars. So I suppose I'm kind of happy about that. But the separate 2-lane road kind of main road doesn't work nearly as good as the 1-lane highway road, because that is definitely an awesome invention and something that many more people should use, because highways, as in the ramps, work really well as standalone highways that go to a different town or something like that without spending too much money or space on that. It's actually very efficient, so that's nice. And at this point I was trying to get this road to go to the top of the hill, because I was planning my newest great neighborhood over here, which would soon be called Rome for no reason. And that didn't really work out because the terraforming wasn't all that great. And this area started out as a great idea with that 4-lane road, aside from having the traffic lights, of course. So at some point I was like, no, this is not going to happen. I'm going to downgrade this 4-lane road, because I want to get rid of all those traffic lights. But then it turns out that this was going to be a huge and busy area, and I got some congestion in this area later on. It's definitely not red all the time, and it's only in a couple of spots, but you kind of want your entire city to look green. And I don't know if that's just me, but that's some kind of, well, mental thing that I have going, that I don't want any roads to be red. So the more roads I built, the more roads are going to be red, and the more I get annoyed by that, even though, of course, that does mean that more roads are also going to be green. But yeah. Here you can see, by the way, all of the cars piling up just to get to that little road at the end of this road so they could go back. So I figured, you know, I'm going to add this stupid round thing so that people can actually go back without having any intersections. And though I must say, it really does work, and like I said, there's barely any congestion in this area. It is completely stupid and expensive, so it is definitely not the best way to fix this problem of having congestion. But I had the mindset of, I would rather have enormous ramps and flying cars than congestion in my city. So anything above traffic jams, that is basically my mind state at that point. And this neighborhood, which would soon become a part of Vancouver, and Vancouver would by then turn into a huge area within the city, is just an area that I built because I had 3 demands, but I was like, I want more population, so I'm going to just build as much residential as I can, as well as adding more commercial and possibly more industrial, because I was hoping to get a huge population boost in one go, and then go to the 48,000 people in my city and get the next land slot. But it didn't really work like that. Things really rarely seem to actually work like you planned them to in this game, which is a great thing, because that is definitely how real life works. Nothing really works as you plan it. It's not like SimCity where you can just say, okay, I am just going to build a shit ton of buildings now, and that means that my population is going to grow. No, you actually have to keep your current population happy and provide the right services and keep the demands in check and things like that. So that is something to, at least something to keep in mind. And this area, I have no idea. I am later on calling this area Kufstein, which I will elaborate on further. But it's called that because I figured that this would be a cool mountain area. But then as soon as I started building houses on top of that, and I got some apartment buildings in the main area of Vancouver, it turned out that that one small hill over there wasn't really all that big as I thought it was, but really just a small hill. So it never turned into a really awesome kind of on the mountains village as I expected it to be. But it was pretty cool nonetheless. That's something that I'm not too much a fan of. I don't know if you can actually terraform the rocks and stuff like that, but so far that doesn't seem to be the case. That as soon as you get a steep slope, it's going to turn into rocks, and you can't really have a steep grassy slope, it seems, and you can't also have multiple types of rocks. It's just, okay, that slope is that steep, that's going to be rocks, and that is not steep, that's going to be grass. And even though you have really steep grassy slopes, and sometimes you also want to have a summit on top of a mountain that consists out of rocks, but it's still somewhat flat. Because right now you also have these big mountains, and on top of them they have like a small grassland, which doesn't seem to make too much sense either. But, you know, that's just small things. And recently a patch did come out, and that is really fast from the initial release, and I'm really happy about that, because that really shows how involved they are even after they just released the game, because now you can actually upgrade roads. I mean, you can actually change the direction of 1-lane roads and upgrade 1-lane roads to 2-lane roads and vice versa, which was something you didn't have in the game before, and I was using mods for at some point, but now we can do that in game, so that is really awesome. As well as some small bug fixes and possibly some other things that I probably forgot, but I'll see that in the future anyway. And oh yeah, that was a land value map. I wasn't too happy about the land value in this city, by the way, because I kind of wanted the land value to be a bit higher, but all those 4-lane roads create so much noise pollution that within the, well, a certain radius from the 4-lane roads, you're not going to have a good land value anyway. So not really too happy about that. But then again, the land value doesn't seem to matter too much, because even with a relatively not that high land value, especially around those 4-lane roads in the downtown area, I still get very high level buildings. So it also comes down to services and generally how big your population is, it seems. So it's not really a worry of me, but I'm kind of used to trying to get as much of a land value as I can. Oh, wait, that reminds me. There was one very important bug fix, which is game changing, and I'm gonna implement some in episode 13, I think, because right now, that is, I think, the next episode that I will record as I'm talking about this right now. So that is how big the delay still is. But the bug fix that I'm so happy about, they finally fixed the fact that parks made the commercial demand a lot lower. Because in the past, parks would actually lower the commercial demand so much that if you only had a couple of parks in your city and you had a moderately small-sized city, your commercial demand would be nearly zero, and you had no chances of actually getting commercial demand, which is the problem that I had in the beginning of playing this game. But right now that's been fixed, so that is a really awesome and positive thing, and as soon as I get my hands on that, which will be in about episode 13 or 14, I can't really remember exactly, but from that moment on, I'm probably going to spam many parks around in my city because that's something I want, and I might at some point actually decide to remove, by that, downgrade the 4-lane roads because they cause noise pollution, and it seems like some of them aren't really necessary. And this, by the way, is just me trying to replace all of my power plants with solar power plants because that's green and more efficient and actually more cheap than the windmills I had earlier on. But yeah, that's it for this episode, so thank you for watching and I'll see you on the next one.